In this lesson, we'll implement some routes in our application. The first step was to include the Angular route module, which you can download from the Angular website or using Bower. Then we need to specify the location where the different views will go. In this case, we want to keep the top navigation bar in all of our pages, so we only want to replace what's inside of the container. As we put in different routes, we can have different views being shown here. We created a folder called views, and there's two files in it. One is the one that you're currently seeing, which shows all of the entries. The other one is an empty page, which will just show some text and has a URL to a non-existing route, because we're going to cover that case as well. So we've included ng-route in our application. We've injected this module. Now we can start using it. We'll begin by creating the config method, which is used to define application level configuration. And in here we'll enter route provider, which is an object that we have access to since we included the route module, and that will allow us to define all these different routes, which views will be shown in each route, and which controller will take care of that particular route. See that we have two controllers here, one that shows the listing of elements, and the other one that's called almost the same, but it doesn't have an S in here, is the one that will show just some text for now. Later on, it'll be the form to create new entries and edit existing entries. Let's add each one of our routes. Route provider, and then a method called when allows us to specify a single route. I'm going to put this here because we'll be putting many of them, so it's going to look a bit more organized if I do it this way. Okay, the first route you want to define usually is the route, the root. You don't have to, but we will in this case. So if we're in the root of our application, basically nothing after here, we will grab the template located in views, folder views, expenses.html. That's the template we'll load. The controller that will take care of this is this one here. So if I reload the page now, I'm on the root route. So before we were looking at this, but it was actually the finished example. So now we're just looking at it for the first time as according to what we've been coding. We get the exact same view that we used to have because it's loading this file and then it's using this controller. Let's add a second route for this same page. It's going to be expenses. So if we just type expenses, it will show it. Expenses. If I type something non-existent, it's not going to show anything. So how can we take care of that case? There's another method called otherwise. So otherwise, if it doesn't match any of the routes, take me to the root. I could have put any other URL in here. Let's add also one for the second view that we have. That one's going to be expenses/new. I can write anything I want here basically. In this case, I'm loading the other template file, expenseform.html, and I'm using the other controller, expense view controller. Let's test this. So I'm going to write expenses new. To reload the page first. Expense new. Yes, and we get that second page. The second page will show us some text, and it has a link to a non-existing route as well, and see how that one takes you back home.